So I'm Coy Henderson. I lead our business development, strategic partnerships, and growth at Levelset. Today we have Klark Brown with Restoration Rebels and AIR, Alliance of Independent Restorers. And today we're going to talk a little bit just about Klark's group and some of the challenges restoration contractors may have in the industry generally, and more specifically about payment. So why don't we kick it off, Klark, and tell me just a little bit about your background. I know you worked in the restoration field for a while. Just give us some of your background.
So the restoration disaster recovery part of my career is my second career. I started in 2002. I sold another company that I had, and I was like, I want to get into something completely different. I want to be recession resistant, not recession proof. And I liked every day being different. I'm adventurous to a degree, and I like challenges. So I went to work for a large disaster company. Started at the bottom. I mean, I had owned my own companies, but the humility of it is that for me to learn this thing the right way, it's going to start at the bottom. The company I worked for, we primarily only focused on commercial and larger losses. We went to a lot of hurricanes. So from 2002 to 2014, that was my life.
Right.
I was traveling 200 plus nights a year.
Jeez.
Seeing disasters all the way from, I was here, I think I told you, in 05 in Katrina for a year and a half, and back here again in, I think around 11 when the BP oil spill was happening. Every hurricane, flood. I've worked in every state in the United States a few times, some more than others, Florida to speak of, and Louisiana, but also 11 other countries.
Really?
I've worked in disasters in Fukushima, Europe, and South America, and things like that. So just kind of wherever it took me. But the projects kept getting larger, and I was gone from home longer. I was just like, evolution of this is like, let me do something different.
Right.
And so I just kind of made a decision. I wanted to partially retire from that contracting side of it, but I found myself always taking calls from people. I've always been I've always had mentors, and I've always felt that being a mentor to others, it was a huge quid pro quo. Pay those back to help you by paying others, forward. And I would always get calls on, how would you do this? How would you do this? I've got a unique situation, or I'm in Cleveland. Do you know a guy? And I seem to have that Rolodex. And I said, this might be where I'd pivot into more of a consulting role. Right. And I did that, and I started working with a couple of large disaster companies, and then I just said, it's time to. I didn't do it consciously, but I said, I want to help a lot of people instead of just one at a time. There was such a small impact being made by helping one group overcome something, and I kind of started to hear this rhetoric and this murmur of the disaster restoration industry, and social media had a lot to do with that, which is, we'll get into that, but we started in 2017. We started the Restoration Rebels based off of just having a conversation.
Right. So needless to say, you earned your stripe in the industry, right? And you got to a point where you'd been there, done that, seen it all twice over.
That's what I was afraid of. I was getting to where it was no longer fun.
Yeah.
It was no longer challenging, and I was just going through the motions, and that's not how I wanted to spend my. What's next? I've always been a person that says, continually reinvent yourself.
Sure.
Use what you did before to get to the next level, and I just that's kind of where I was.
But along the way, you happened to gain a ton of experience, ton of knowledge, know-how, and so that kind of became the next chapter, right? How can I help people? Actually, maybe they came to you just because they knew of you.
It happened more that way.
Yeah.
It's real strange, and I use this a lot. In your travels, as you're doing anything, you are gaining more experience, more knowledge, and more notoriety, but you don't really know it at the time. It's like watching hair grow because you're so close to it. But it wasn't until I put myself out there with some other people, and not just me, but several people, as an open book, and people said, well, you clearly, this is something we all struggle with, and it just, to me, it's like, well, I didn't know everybody struggled with that.
Right.
I thought that was something that just, and I worked for companies that already had those things figured out.
Right.
So then I was able just to say, well, this is how we did it, and large company could be scaled to a small company, and that seemed to be a real success factor for a lot of people.
So you started helping the one-offs, and then you said, hey, how can I scale myself? Or I'm finding a lot of enjoyment of this. Maybe you made the conscious decision to say, hey, I'm going to go have this consulting business or practice, or the group of you did. And that's kind of where Restoration Rebels started, right? Like, let me expand my network, or let me actually reach out to the network I already have and see if we can't come together and do some stuff together. So can you tell me a little bit more about the Rebels, how that started, its origin story, and then we'll dive into like a little bit more about the group and what you do.
Yeah, man. 2017 was the birth year of the Rebels. We had really a catalyst was a gentleman named Andy McCabe. Andy McCabe had been in the industry just like myself. We didn't know each other. He lives in Bend, Oregon, lives on that coast. Has always been this side and that side, doing his own thing. But very smart guy and very good with extending out what he believes into a video. And he started making YouTube videos, and he wrote books. And and he started having this dialogue on LinkedIn. It's where we started this whole movement started on LinkedIn. And a couple of myself and some of the other founders, we all kind of found each other. It's almost like a Stephen King movie where the kids stand by me. Well, they all converged and they're going on a journey. We all met each other. We all had our own strengths and weaknesses, and the others kind of picked it up. And that gained traction on LinkedIn to a certain degree. It became a big movement. At that point, it was called Restoration 2.0. So that's our first movement name, was 2.0 being a rebirth, a reboot, if you will. So our industry had been doing things still a lot like it had been done 20 years ago.
Right.
But meanwhile, people were using Netflix and not Blockbuster. They were using digital cameras and not Kodaks, or not Polaroid. So we said we have to step up. The world's moving quickly. We're not keeping up with it. We want to be a player. Well, LinkedIn helped for a while, but it's not the best platform for a community grouping. And we just said, begrudgingly, let's go to Facebook.
Right.
Gosh, man, my kids are on Facebook. But we were able to create a private room and a private place. And that's where the trajectory started. It has its ups and downs, but we just started giving information, just giving it away.
Right.
And others would hear about us, and they would tell more people, and that's just how it happened. And we grew. We're currently, again, that was 2017. We have 4,700 members of that group now. Yearly, we have these summits. We have a national gathering, usually 150, 175 people, and we bring in speakers. But really, the daily, the Rebel group on Facebook, looking at the analytics, there's about 60 new posts a day, and something around 3,000 comments a day on there.
Right.
So it's really
Well, it seems like you built something lasting, right? Like the altruistic nature of like, hey, let me just help people out, and the community's gravitated towards that. And people, like I've been part of the group now for, I guess, a little over a year, as like sometimes a lurker, but sometimes a poster. And I see all that group is very intent on helping each other, and that's the culture you've established in there. I guess that kind of leads to my question: is like, what's the real like mission, or like the vision, like the mission statement of the Restoration, or what are you really trying to drive home with the Rebels and or Air? I'd like you to talk about that a little bit.
We'll talk about Air. So our mission statement has always been, in the early days, it was to take back our industry. We feel like we're operating in an ecosystem that we're not in control of, and whenever you don't have control, you don't take accountability and ownership of it. So we wanted people to take our industry back and feel like that we're the ones in control of our future, not others telling us. Whether that's real or not, that is perception. That's what a lot of people struggle with. And our vision was to use social media and community. We're kind of looking back into the 1800s, into the tribe mentality. People generally want to make sure others are taken care of, especially a niche industry like ours. Most people remember what it was like to start out, and they wish they had had this type of network to help them, a band of mentors like this. Someone has actually called the Rebels the Wikipedia of restoration. I don't know if I can say that from a trademark standpoint, but they said it's an encyclopedia. If you're getting started and you want to come in and spend the time and search, just about every topic that you could possibly think of would be there.
Sure.
So we that's always been our mission. Our mission has been to give and take. It's like a buffet line. If you're going to take something away, leave something. Be a participant. Not everyone's comfortable doing that. And a lot of people, like you said lurkers jokingly, but there are people that will never ever comment, but they message other members and say, "I love this group. It's my daily automatic that I go to because usually there's something I learned that I can pass on to my team or apply to something that we're doing." But migrating into, so it's always been great, but as it's grown, with growth comes pain, more occurrences of things. So there's always been a little bit of I think the internet uses the word troll. There's been people who just want to be disruptors. Like we're disruptors as rebels, and I want to go back in a moment and tell you where the name Rebels come from, because I think this would be a great avenue to talk about that. But as we've grown, social media seems to give a license for people to not be their authentic self. They can be who they want to be, and sometimes it's easy to just spit out the first thing that comes to mind without thinking, why don't I come back to this an hour later? So as we've grown, the moderators and the administrators have had to police a whole lot more. There's been a lot more people who come into the group. We do great vetting, but there are a lot of people who look at restoration and think we're for hot rods or hair restoration. So we do have a piece of our group that aren't even relevant to what we are. And we kind of want this, we want to keep it pure. So we've evolved it into, we said, we've been here 2 or 3 years, we've been talking, but that's all we're doing. It's an echo chamber at this point. We now have recognized what the pains are, and now let's start attacking them and resolving things. And we said with that, we need to truly step it up and form an official trade association. Trade association is a very old term. I've actually I call it success organization, but it's called the Alliance of Independent Restorers. So let me pause there and tell you where the Rebels came from. The word alliance and the independent restorers have always been part of our universe. Well, somewhere in late 17, someone said they took the word alliance and thought of the movie, the Disney movie, not Disney now, it's owned by Disney, Star Wars, and said, oh, we're like the Alliance, we're like the Jedi, we're like the rebels, we're fighting against the Federation, because there is this large part of our industry is just trying to get paid for the work we do, which is what Levelset's here for. But in our way is this large entity, which may be the people holding the money, maybe the insurance, maybe a corporation, and we're rebels trying to get that money. So people attach to that, and that's really where we came up with rebels. We've taken a lot of flack for, rebel seems like a harsh word to some people. We live in a society where, it's, everything is taken out of context, things, but rebel, it's really just a harmless thing.
Sure, and I've seen the back and forth on the group, and there's no animosity in that group. It's all everybody's people trying to help people.
No, it is people helping people. Countless stories of individuals who were almost out of business, were ready to throw the towel in just from frustration, burnout, didn't have a direction, had a renewed empowerment from not only getting the information, but what's also interesting is finding out that you're not alone, that if you're in San Antonio, Texas, and you see that a guy in Ogden, Utah is having the same issue, then no longer do you feel like you're doing something wrong. This is now a shared experience,
Sure.
and there's a connection there. And they sometimes would take that offline. We've had hundreds of rebels go visit each other in their own businesses. Like say, hey, I'd like to fly out for a week to Columbus, Ohio, or Ogden, Utah, and see how you do things. Come on, I'd love to use you. So what I've watched, I mean, when people start to talk about how harmful it is, like you're looking at the 2%. I'm looking at the 98 that have just, this is good work.
Right.
Is it perfect? No. Wasn't perfect when we found it. So we moved into Alliance Vendor Stores, and that's all we've ever wanted to be, was an alliance. We bring in restorers. We'd love to bring in people from the claims departments of the insurance company. We've had sit down interviews, said, here's the problem we're having. Can you give us why you won't pay? What do you need from us to ease this pain? And then the other alliance are vendors and sources, much
Sure.
like Levelset.
So you're becoming like a hub for the
A hub.
ecosystem, right? Because we've mentioned a little bit about the payments, but really it's a breadth of conversations and people. Like you said, there's participants from all sides, and so. Like I see it as like almost a hub for that
Yes.
restoration ecosystem. It's
Yeah.
it's great. So let me do this. Let me pull out that particular thread a little bit. It's been a really interesting journey for you, seemingly from doing it yourself, growing your business or having your own business, to working some very large restoration, all the way to spinning up Restoration Rebels and now Alliance. What's been your favorite part of this all, or
Not just one thing. I wish there was one thing. I will say I would never have predicted this is where I would be at this point in my career. So the Alliance of Independent Stores, while it's a for-profit entity, it's a memberships. We aren't drawing any salary out of it. So I still have to have my restoration consulting business called Restoration Advisors, and I still do the one-on-one consulting business coaching with people as well as with their team, devising plans, usually on the operational side of things, more of the systems and procedures, not really much on the sales and marketing,
Right.
although I can allude to what I've seen is successful. I'm teaching a lot now. This has propelled me into places that, again, I've been teaching classes the last year and a half of different acumen. Just things that come natural to me that I never would have thought would help someone else, but it does.
Sure.
And so I've created this big giving system, and my grandfather always taught me, if you're always giving, you'll always receive. And I have. I've been gifted with. I'm not rich, but with this satisfaction to know that there's several of us doing this, are creating a legacy of, at least we didn't sit by and let these businesses go down. And we said, what do we need from them? And people have stepped up. People say, what can I do to help this movement? Come aboard. And we have positions and roles for everyone. So it's become a network of a lot of volunteer leaders, junior leaders, that we provide leadership development to. We give them assets and resources to help them for their ROI to get back. So it's really been fun, but never would I have ever, I thought I'd be running into hurricanes, but I haven't been to a hurricane in 2 years. So,
Right.
Again,
a different type of hurricane.
a different type of hurricane, but I've just, I have found that, I don't know, just maybe it's just age, and maybe it's when you age, you mellow, and you say, this is what people do. You've gained some experience, then you teach. Get the next generation ready so you don't leave it behind. Maybe that's just how it always happens.
Yeah. So you obviously have this passion for like helping and teaching, and it's a theme that I've seen just knowing you and being part of the group. And you get to work really hands-on with these restoration contractors. Let's dig in a little bit to talk about maybe some of the challenges generally that a restoration contractor might have, You mentioned this to me earlier that most, or not most, but a lot of contractors, they start off as being really good at construction or contracting, and then they get into this world of wanting to run their own business. Instead of me answering, how about you just tell us some of the common things you're seeing?
Probably at the root, that's one of the larger issues. And you can take that always back to high school and college. You can take business classes, but they're not showing you how to run a business. Not in today's ecosystem. Not how to hire people and what insurance is and what workers' comp, to how to truly measure your profit and overhead and how to survive. Like, you can learn how to sell, you can learn how to do construction, but how do you be competitive in a market like New Orleans or Dallas? That's something that people aren't ready for. So we do have this percent of our industry, and it's larger than some people think of people that were contractors. Maybe their father had been a contractor and they stumbled across an opportunity to start their own. It sounds great. Sounds like it would be easy as 1, 2, 3. I know what I'm doing. I watch my dad do it. But they don't know about the taxes. They don't know about the advertising and what advertising works. They're still trying to do TV ads,
right?
But people aren't watching TV anymore. What is pay-per-click? What is SEO? It's just a big force now, and it's dark, and so there aren't enough lights. So maybe if I'm going to use metaphors for a moment, post up some lights on some really specific subcultures. But I would say that the lack of business acumen is what many people struggle with. There's variations of that, but it still comes back to they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
The work's never questioned. They do great work, and the customers love them, giving them 5-star reviews. But how do they propel that into something else?
And like when I believe one of the first conversations we had, it was just around what were some, construction in general is a pretty thin margin business. And it's either if you're growing too fast is a problem, if you're not growing fast enough, it's a problem, if you get burned, it's an issue. And one of our original conversations was just around how can we empower some contractors with some very simple like tools or techniques to like have processes in place to run their business. And I remember it very vividly. We were clicking because, like you said, a lot of contractors may not, it's not even about the acumen, it's just about you don't know what you don't know. And they've never seen this process, or they've heard misinformation about a process. And that's where we got into digging into Levelset and lien rights and helping contractors appear more professional with their documentation, et cetera, et cetera. Thinking about that, what are some common challenges you're still seeing with members or not even people in your consulting business around payments?
Payments are usually, whether it's real or not, that's the most obvious pain. They say, I'm not getting paid for the work I'm doing, and I'll ask why, and they'll say, well, I don't have good contracts, I don't have good processes. There are issues that maybe they're doing work on a program or a vendor. They're a vendor for the insurance company, which has its own complexities. They are working for a referral source that gives them a lot of work, and they don't want to appear as too aggressive by using liens. And I have conversations saying that liens have been it's a natural part of business, and they've been around forever. And your own clients have protective measures in place too. But usually it starts around getting paid. Whether or not that's the biggest issue, them having cash flow helps them with the others. Maybe I need to hire someone or I need to market more, but I can't because I don't have the money that's all out there on the street. Solving that problem, which is what I've watched Levelset do with many restorers, and especially Rebels, is take that part of the pain, not where it's near the top, it's near the bottom, and it falls into a process where it's just, that's taken care of, it's about as good as it's going to get. I might get it 5 or 10% better, but now I can start attacking these other things. But while that's so hot and white at the very top, that's always going to be the biggest thing.
It's like a low-hanging fruit.
It is.
It's what are some easy wins we can do for our business to appear more professional, to free up cash flow to actually just have the confidence that I can take on this work and I have a safety net. I like to think of lien rights a lot like it's just a check and balance system, and it's not some system that we created. It's not a system that a few people got in a room and said this is what we should do. It's the legal system that was created by the law, by the industry, to say like, if you're going to do work, you deserve the right to be paid for that work, and it's as simple as that. And
there's nothing more American than getting paid for the work you do so that you can employ more people to create more opportunity for people. I mean, it really comes down to a capitalist society. If we're paid and we're fluid and we're solvent, we get to live our American dream, but we also get to keep perpetuating and growing that American dream for others. Something you just said, you didn't invent the lean process. I mentioned earlier Netflix. They didn't invent the movies, but they found a new way to deliver that to you. Levelset has figured out a new way to take a process that's been in place for a long time, but smoothing out the edges, and where it doesn't take work from you, and in some cases it doesn't even make you look like it's coming. It makes it look like it's not coming from your corporation. It's a third party. So that's just something I'm thinking of. But once we start having conversations, and before, people ask me all the time, what about liens? Is this a job that I should do a lien on? I try not to go too deep with them. I said, I have a few answers, but I know the expert in that field, and I usually send them over to Levelset. But I said, but you need to start thinking about it's not like, it's not taking their house from them. It's not, it's not demolishing their credit or anything like that. So there's a lot of myth and rumors around what liens are. Some people just don't know, they've never done one. Or they think I've got to go down to the courthouse and do my own, or I work in 2 different states, go to level in the state line. So I usually have people just say, before you make up answers, let's go find the answers.
Right. Well, it's kind of lien's a 4-letter word, we like to say in the industry, but really it doesn't have to be, right? It's just it's an arrow in your quiver if things go wrong, and it's through a lot of interactions with a lot of the rebels and people we've helped build this process into their system. Is it's almost just like business as usual. Once they get it implemented, there's no real friction with their clients. It's just, hey, I'm professional and you're professional, and this is business.
I think I told you earlier, I know some of your clients that I work with, some of them have hundreds of 5-star reviews. Unhappy customers don't give 5-star reviews. There's something wrong with that picture. If you believe that you're evil if you're doing liens, how are you getting 5-star reviews? It's just not. So I will remember what the very first thing that I was impressed with Levelset, and this was before your transition, was the video of your contractor that talked about, he went to the accountant's office.
Al's story.
Al's story.
I think it is.
The stack of ones not getting paid weren't squeaky wheels, but the ones that had liens in place and that had gone through a process and looked to be a professional company, we better pay those right away. And that to me has been more of a conversation starter than any other piece of media that I've seen to explain what a lien.
Right. How are you getting prioritized?
How are you? Again, it's they don't put you in a category of like that's an evil, mean person. Just that person knows what they're supposed to know.
Yeah.
And so let's take care of them first.
Yeah. So Klark, I know you work with a lot of contractors in both your consulting business and just through AIR and through the Restoration Rebels. What are some of the things, or how are you looking at finding solutions for them that might help their business? And I know, like with us, there was a bit of like a vetting, and so do you want to tell us about how you just look to make sure that the contractors you're working with are you're putting the right things in front of them?
Yeah, we've been very careful with the Rebels from day one. We've completely controlled the promotional value and the salesiness. It'd be simple to just let everyone come in and pitch their sales ad, but you're already seeing ads all day from everybody. So we like to keep the groups pure, but along the way, we've said, but there are certain services or products or educational factors that help them quickly get right to the problems they're having, and that's where the vetting comes in. So we look at, is this something that's good for everyone? Is there an ROI, or is this just a cheap thrill? And so we, yourself and a couple of others, and we're going to continue to stack those, but we want it to make sense. We want it to be a library of vendors and partners. I like to be partners that are just as interested in our clients and the successes of our companies that we provide, as well as our businesses. And so far we've had a 6 or 7 people. Nothing spammy. I would say Levelset, you're one of the best ones about just putting blogs and putting industry related examples of where a lead, and I think people grab those and say, I love this. And so I love, in the world of sales, when you do consultative selling, when you solve a problem and people come to you, as opposed to just pouring it down their throat. And that's what you guys are passively saying, hey, we do something over here that you might find valuable.
Sure.
And usually when people dig in and figure out what that is, they're like, yeah, I should have used this years ago. I've been sitting on receivables for years and years. I probably could have lodged some of these free by now.
Right. I forget the quote you said that your grandfather used to say. Just basically giving what you get. Or
Yeah, always, if you're always planting my grandfather sold John Deere tractors. As I didn't tell you that part, but he sold tractors for 62 years. He said if the farmer is always planting in off season and season, he'll always be harvesting and always be growing food. So if you're always planting, if you're always nurturing and tending to that garden. So I travel this country partially for my own business, but also partially on my own dime like this. I flew out just for today because we've had this connection. I was supposed to have done this back in, I think, in the summer. We had an appointment we had some freak storm.
Yeah, it was
some
hurricane
flood or something. Super flood. And but I find it important to get past the social media side and dive in. I mean, I'm here looking at the people. I mean, huge, 2 buildings, lots of different people, really engaged, a lot of chatter, a wall of Taylor Swift. It's great. It's for another interview. But really, really succeeding, and it's like behind the curtain. There really is something there.
Well, I'm not sure if you saw the other wall, but we have it much bigger. We empower contractors to get with Aaron, right? And that's kind of in the theme of giving a lot. You see the posts we contribute on the site. It's all about how can we provide the resources that will just help, because we want to be a partner too. If we can help you, improve your business even incrementally, we believe it'll come back in spades.
100%. Well, if people use Levelset that works for them, they're going to be quick. Everyone loves to give good information. Right. So they're going to go to the next convention and say, how are you so successful? Now, let me tell you about these guys. And that's the cheerleaderment. That's when you make, when you make really, really, really good cheerleaders, when they just can't wait to tell others about what's helped them be successful. And another thing about the Rebels is we have a huge thing, and I think we've kind of shifted a lot of minds. We don't look at competition in the way that people do. We might be competitors in what we do on the job site, but we all share an industry. And if we all are serious that the stronger we are united, the better we do. Pick up the guy that's doing a really bad job and say, you need a little more help. Let me help you look better, because the public is looking at you thinking we're all like that. So we've seen a shift, and we've seen some curmudgeons say, oh, no, I've got competitors on all sides of me. Drop the guard, drop the wall, and say, I'm going to take that guy to coffee. Sure enough, they have the same problems, they have the same headaches, they have the same crazy customers.
Right.
They have the same, everything. And they're like, we're more alike than I ever thought. I just didn't want to like him. And now we're teaming up and we're approaching things together as a united front. I've really watched that.
Well, they say a rising tide raises all ships. And I think that's that's definitely the nature of what you're doing with your community. And just keep on doing it.
What I hope and what I've seen and it continue to see, people need to see an example of something. So I've been doing what I've been doing. I'm not the only one. John Grubb, Jerry Edel, O.P. Omeris, they see people just like them giving back and like, God, if it's okay for them to do, then I like, look how successful they are. Look how much they're getting back from my doing that. It seems to kind of create that shift. And so I think slowly I've seen a lot of it. And it's still going to be the opposites, but they're going to be watching from the outside, looking in the window, saying, what are all they people in here doing? Everything's successful. Those are just rebels.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look at those rebels go by. Look at all the money they're making.
Look at those rebels.
You know, what I'm excited about, Coy, is what's next. If we have, in fact, at least to some degree, achieved our goal of helping individuals or companies collect and become more solvent financially, where they can start making bigger decisions and growing. Well, what's next? Will there be another disruptor come in? Will there be, I don't know. And I like that. I feel confident that all of us being together in this, we're ready to take that on when it does come. But I have seen restoration companies, and some of them using Levelset and other applications of just redefining their business and stop thinking small time and start thinking bigger. I've seen them bring on sales and marketing development people, buying their buildings, starting to get health insurance. That's one thing that I have a client that I ask him, what are you doing with your improved cash flow? He said, I was able to offer health insurance for my staff, which allowed me to recruit better people. That's a win. That's
absolutely.
Anyone in our industry or any business that helps the community, when people say, if you guys aren't being paid, what happens? Well, if we think we're doing a good service for our neighborhood and our community by helping them with their problems with their property, well, if we don't get paid well, we can't help more people. But if we're solvent, if we're getting, if we're cash flow positive, we can continue to reinvest that and help more people. So it's limiting that when we're not getting paid. And again, when we're pointing fingers at people, we always have to start with ourselves. Am I doing everything on my end to help my team? Because I have an obligation to everyone that works for me to make the best decisions and put the processes in place to get paid so that I can, give them raises and vacation time and, things like that. So I think it's the big circle. And you just have to shine a light on the big picture.
Sure.
Because it's real easy to get caught in the micro and not look at the macro.
Sure. And, it's no matter what's in the future for the next 2-3 years with us or with the contractors, whether they want to graduate into the next tier of business, whether they want to have less stress, give their employees, better health benefits. It's like you said, we're all in this together, and I think that's really why this partnership has been thriving with us. We're empowering people to get what they earn, and like you are from the other side, you're empowering them to have a better, a better business, a better life, better quality of life, and I think that's why it's working. So we've been really thrilled with the partnership. And
good. We've learned a lot in this journey, and we have built some amazing platforms with AIR, and I think we're continuing to exercise ways that we can better send messages and spread the information. So that's always the challenge: is how do you get from the top of a mountain and yell what we do? Because there are people out there today looking for Levelset. They're looking for our other affiliates. They just haven't found them yet because we aren't hitting them at the moment that their eyes are trained on us. They're looking here, looking there. So we're trying to find different ways to start dripping that in a little bit better. But I think everyone deserves a chance to at least find out things like Levelset and Scope and Company Cam, things that are changing and transforming people's business. I hate that it's limited only to the people that have found it. I'd like everyone to at least know it's there and blow up your phones and your call center. Melt your servers.
That's right. Well, thank you, Klark. We appreciate you and AIR and the Rebels, and
can't wait.
We look forward to a bright future.
Bright future.
All right. Thanks.